Right, hello everyone. I'm coming back very quickly just to answer a little question that I got asked in response to my last video by Clive Mortimer, 83 blah 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 blah. Um, Sorry, I can't remember the numbers, but it was an absolutely fantastic question. And actually, before we get started, I just want to outline as well that if anyone does have any questions, please do put them in the comments or wherever, and I'm more than happy to try and answer them. This is my response to one of these absolutely fantastic questions that I was asked just yesterday from Clive Mortimer. Um, and this was in regards to civilian traffic and refugees on roads in the event of an invasion. So this was something that was considered, and what I like about this one is that it gives a good idea of how in-depth the planning was behind the defence of the UK during the Second World War, which helps then to alleviate this myth that the defence of the UK was not planned in any way, shape, or form and was seen as half-arsed and all this stuff. And this is a prime example of this, and it was an absolutely fantastic question. So, in terms of the fighting in France, which had taken place from May to May to June 1940, one of the key issues in terms of the defenders and counterattack was that a lot of the roads were clogged with refugees and civilian traffic, which hampered counterattack by mobile units quite effectively. And this was a lesson learned that was taken into consideration in terms of defending the UK. So one of the methods that was used by the military to kind of, or in the event of invasion, to alleviate the struggles that have been encountered on the continent in terms of refugee traffic was to designate roads. So we'll take a look at some of the orders that I've found in regards to this. Also, I just want to point out here as well that I'm going to be showing some maps, and unfortunately maps are often quite sought after when it comes to online data thieves and plagiarists and all that, and the people who have got way too much time on their hands to be able to trawl the internet for literally every scrap of information that they can steal and present as their own. But I'm quite confident that in terms of roads, that your standard like data trawler isn't going to be too interested in trying to record a road with road online, but might be quite keen to steal the images and present them as their own because maps are quite nice to look at. So I have to be a bit careful. This is one of the reasons why I don't tend to show maps very often because they are quite sought after by people who don't want to spend their own time or money researching this stuff and just want something pretty to look at and present as their own information and get props and likes and subscribes on Facebook. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's take a little look at some of the orders that I've found in the war diaries that I've got and the other source of information relating to traffic control and refugees. So this is an order that was issued by the 55th Infantry Brigade on the 28th of May, 1940. So this covers the area of Norfolk. And this relates directly to traffic control and refugees. The idea being you want to try and keep the roads open as much as possible for military traffic. So I'm not going to go into a great amount of detail, but you can clearly see that they have put a lot of planning into this. So in general, in the event of an emergency arising, strict traffic control will be necessary in the division area to provide for forward movement and reinforcements, ammunition, supplies and stores, keeping your troops supplied, the movement to the rear of empty vehicles, casualties and withdrawing troops, so being able to evacuate, and the movement to the rear of evacuating civilian personnel, vehicles and stores. So they've clearly outlined what they need to be able to use the road network for. As a way of kind of alleviating the burden on the road network, then evacuation of civilians was to be undertaken in certain aspects. Feel free to pause and have a read through this in your own time if you want to. But to do this, there were certain roads that were designated for civilian traffic. We also have a key thing as well being traffic control. So this would have been the responsibility of the military police and the civilian police. And in Norfolk and in East Yorkshire, as we'll see later, there were traffic control points established to try and control the movement of traffic, civilian traffic on the road and rail network. Sorry, on the road network, to try and keep the roads free from civilian traffic where needs be. And like I say, you can see this is clearly well planned. Yeah, you have the outline of which areas will be controlled by traffic control points by the civil police, by forward infantry brigades. You've also got, in terms of Norfolk, a diversion around Norwich, which is quite cool, but it was for military traffic only. Even details such as the speed and density of traffic, and this is something we see in standard operating orders and orders issued in terms of troop movements, where they'll say, right, you have 10 vehicles, 10 VTM, Uh, so that's 15 miles in the hour, 10 vehicles to a mile, I think it is. Yeah, 10 VTM by day, 15 MIH miles in the hour by night, day, and then at night it's 40 VTM. No, that can't be right. Anyway, that's something to look at for later. Um, we also have things like the lighting the vehicles, so the blackout um, precautions which are going to be undertaken by vehicles as well, halts and all this stuff. So a vast amount of detail has been put into pre-planning, how the road network is going to be operated. And then we have this absolutely fantastic map which shows the direction which traffic will be going in and out of the various roads all the way across East Anglia. We have the traffic control points outlined, which will be operated by the civil police and the military police. And you can clearly see here that there's a vast amount of planning going into determining which roads are going to be used and how they're going to be used and which direction traffic's going to go and all this stuff as well. Routes forward, which must be kept clear of refugees, shown as thus, so a solid line, and return routes for empty transports to be kept clear of refugees on foot, shown by dotted lines. Vast amount of planning has gone into this, and I don't think there's anything on there really that any data thieves can really nick, unless they want to start trying to record traffic control posts, but anything to bolster numbers with certain online projects. Anyway, so yeah, hopefully this gives an insight into how detailed planning was and how the issue of civilian traffic blocking the road networks was considered. So coming into East Yorkshire, so my favourite area, we have a really nice colour map which shows again this this kind of pre-planning going on in terms of how the road network is going to be used. So in red we have so red, blue, green coloured roads will be, if ordered, be restricted for the services and essential of it for the services, so the military and essential civil vehicles. They will both be kept clear of traffic and repaired in the above order. So if the red roads are damaged, then they'll be repaired first. If blue are damaged, they'll be repaired second. And if green are damaged, they'll be repaired third. Yellow roads will be reserved for pedestrians if evacuation of certain towns becomes necessary. So we can clearly see towns such as Hornsey, coastal towns such as Hornsey, Bryd, Filey and all that have roads earmarked for them for civilian traffic to use or reserved for pedestrians to evacuate certain coastal towns, but most of the main roads are reserved for the use of the military. And again, with as with Norfolk, we also have a series of orders outlining how traffic control will be implemented. So red and blue roads are reserved solely for military and police vehicles and civilian vehicles bearing EL labels, evacuation something labels. Anyway, this is just meant to be a very brief video. I will do a more in-depth dive into this later on. We also have, military vehicles referred to in paragraph 1 will comprise the following classes. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Unmarked roads may be used without restrictions, subject to the ban on refugee motor cars and the right of the military vehicles, military command to close the roads for operational reasons. So, thank you so much, Colin, for asking me that question. Hopefully this has provided a brief insight into some of the planning that took place to prepare the road network for the presence of civilian and civilian refugees and pedestrians. And it shows again really nicely that a vast amount of planning went into preempting issues, but also planning the defence of the UK as well. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you have any questions you want me to try and answer, please do pose them. I can't guarantee I can answer everything. There are some things which I might not necessarily be able to cover because of, like I say, the restrictions I've had to put on myself in terms of getting my data nicked. But yeah, ask me any questions. I'll see what I can do to answer them. Thank you so much again to Clive for posting this question, and I hope this has provided you an insight. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm not going to do the whole like and subscribe thing, but please do tell people about this channel. It really does help. I set up this channel just to kind of get some information out there and try to break down some of the mythology. So if I can get some more views, that's really nice. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll catch you in my next video. See you later.